It is time for our March reading wrap-up. I am so excited because I didn't hate a single book this month, not a single one. I wasn't super cranky about any book. What sort of miracle is this? I love it. So I have some really great reads to go through with you today, and let's do the numbers like we always do. It was a total of 13 books and a total of 4,114 pages. What? I know. I think this is a personal best, or at least in a long time, like years, and I'm really happy with myself. Like, you know, hey, good job, me. To me, the reading challenge and the yearly goals, it's all just a competition with myself. When I set out my 2019 reading goals, I talked about how I didn't think book numbers, like on Goodreads or the Goodreads challenge, is necessarily the best way to do it, and that I wanted to think about my page numbers more. This is the most amount of pages I've read in years, for sure. Over 4,000. I honestly didn't know if I could do it. It was something that I kind of set as a soft goal for the year, and I met it this month, so I'm really excited. We have a lot of books to get through, obviously, so let's go ahead and dive on in. If you've been here before, then you know how this works. I share the books that I've read in 3 categories. I do the best of the best first if I think they were really good books and that they're totally worthy of your time and of you reading them. I call those the buy it books. Then I go into what I call the borrow it books, which were fine, enjoyable reads, but they just weren't like my best pals or my favorites forever, but they were still worth a borrow, but maybe not worth your money. And lastly, what I usually do is include a skip it section, and those are the books that I felt like I did not like at all, and I don't recommend them at all. Ones that I rated really lowly, like a 2 or lower star. This month, we don't have any of those, so we're really just talking good books this month, which is really fun, and I'm gonna be so happy. There's not gonna be any cranky session during this video. Some of you might miss that. I'm sure there'll be a book I'll hate soon, so don't let it get you down too much. So yeah, let's go ahead and start with the best of the best, shall we? I think we shall. First up is Peter Heller's The River. This is a half survival, half thriller book that I really enjoyed. It reminds me of John Steinbeck's writing with the nature descriptions. It took me a second to sort of marinate my thoughts on this, but at the end of the day, I decided to give it 4.5 or 9 out of 10 stars. It's one of those books that impressed me while I was reading it, no doubt, but also a few days after I read it, it hit me even more, and I just realized the genius behind it all, and I just really liked this book. There is a full book review video on it, but the gist is that I liked it. I liked it a lot. I think it was really beautifully done. There's a dynamic of friendship that's really lovely, but it's also set inside a thriller's pace, so it's sort of a genre mashup, and I just really enjoyed myself. Next up is Inspection by Josh Malerman. I was so excited to read this book, and also a little apprehensive because I loved Bird Box. I thought it was so much fun when I read it the year it came out, but then I read his other book, Unbury Carol, and I DNF'd it because I thought it was so just slow and boring, and I just couldn't take it. So this one I was hoping would be a little bit more of the Bird Box style that we all know and love, or at least most of us know and love. This is without a doubt Josh Malerman's best work to date, and it's more than Bird Box was, in the sense that Bird Box was really for pure entertainment. It's a thriller, it's suspense, it just drives you crazy to get to the end, but Inspection is more of a literary achievement. You can see Malerman playing around with different tones and techniques, and I really appreciated getting to see him just give us that experience as well as what we know he can do, which is entertain us to death. Not saying that this isn't entertaining, because it was, but the pace is definitely slower, and the language and the tone is definitely more literary and a little bit more elegant and thoughtful in its execution. It's a coming-of-age tale about a group of boys and a group of girls who are held in separate facilities, and neither knows about the other until now. It's very dark and twisted a lot of the time, and the front flap markets it as a thriller, but I don't like it when publishers do that. It really annoys me, actually, because I think it gives the wrong expectation, and that leads to cranky, confused readers and bad reviews. So it's not a thriller, it's definitely horror, like literary horror, and like a lot of horror is, honestly. I just don't want you to go in expecting it to be super fast-paced, because it's not gonna be. It was slow and at times hard for me to get through, but I'm really glad I did, and I think it's definitely his most genius work. Next up is Romanov and Anastasia, retelling or reimagining about how Anastasia may have survived the execution of her family, the Romanovs. This is a young adult historical fiction, and I thought it was absolutely perfect for that market. I loved reading it as an adult, but I think my teenage self would have loved it even more. It's got a really nice blend of history and fantasy, and they're just mixed together in this really approachable way, but without sacrificing the importance of the history and the events that inspired it. I think Nadine did a really good job, and this doesn't come out until May 7th, but that'll be here before we know it. Next up is another historical fiction. Look at me go, man. I'm on a roll this month, apparently. The Things We Cannot Say by Kelly Rimmer. This one I was a little conflicted about because I almost DNF'd it, if you can believe it, but I think once the end, everything wraps together really nicely, and everything needed to happen in order for it to make sense altogether and to be really compelling altogether. It's a story set in Nazi-occupied Poland, and we're going back between dual timelines, the modern day, with a woman named Alice who has a autistic son and is sort of a unhappy, struggling housewife who found herself in a life position she didn't necessarily want to be in, and she's kind of cranky about it. And then we have these stories set in the 1940s of Alina, who is sort of a spoiled farm girl who has a really simple life, and then obviously the war comes and it turns everything she knew and expected out of her life on its head. She's in love with this local boy, and she just keeps waiting for him to come back and for them to get married, and it's just an exploration of her time in the war and Alice's modern story and how they ultimately connect. I actually thought the story set in the 1940s, the actual historical fiction part of the story, was really well done and really compelling, but I really hated the modern storyline, so much so that I didn't want to read it anymore because she was so negative and cynical. I just could not take it, but I knew that the author was leaving a lot of room for character transformation, so I just let it go. But it took like 200 pages for that to even start to happen, and by that point I was just frustrated by her and I just wanted the historical fiction story. But I will say I left it at 4 stars because the way the stories come together, it makes complete sense. It's really beautifully done. It's like movie magic type of plot lines coming together. So that aspect's really fun. I just wish that there had been more redeeming qualities in the modern timeline character so that I could have really felt her transformation and the emotions behind it. Because if I don't care about a character, then honey, I don't care, and I'm not worried about it. But it was a fun read, and if you don't mind characters like that, then it'll probably be fine for you. Honestly, you'll probably enjoy the heck out of it. I have no doubts that this will be extremely highly rated. I think it already has over 4 stars on Goodreads. Last up, and the ones I think you should consider buy it, though they are kind of on the edge, is both My Lovely Wife and The Other Woman. Starting with My Lovely Wife, this is a story about a husband and wife who got married, moved to the suburbs, got bored, and then tried to keep their marriage interesting by getting away with murder. If you read a lot of mystery thrillers, then there's definitely going to be some aspects of this that aren't as mysterious to you, but it is really fun to read. It definitely served its purpose. I read it quickly, and it was just pure fun thriller entertainment. Not a perfect book by any means, but still just good fun. The first thriller I've enjoyed this year, and that means something. Next, The Other Woman by Sandy Jones. This you may or may not recognize from an unhaul video I did of my TBR at the end/beginning of this year, because I wanted to clear it out. This book was in that video, but in the comments, a bookish Mel said, hey, just FYI, I actually thought that one was pretty fun. And because I'm having such a hard time with thrillers, I still had it in this literally huge and embarrassing box of unhaul books that I still have sitting around. So I dug it back out and just decided to go for it. Mel was completely right. It was really enjoyable. It's sort of like a monster-in-law type of story, which was fun. And again, not mind-blowing or anything, but frankly, when I read thrillers, I'm not really looking for anything mind-blowing because I think it's so rare for that to really happen. What I'm looking for is like just pure, fast, fun entertainment, something for me to just get through really quickly and enjoy while I do it. And this definitely checked all those boxes for me. So thank you so much to Mel for convincing me to take this back out. Sometimes you're wrong about stuff, you know? Sometimes you just don't know. And that's why I love YouTube, is because you guys are exposing me to things I would otherwise never read, and hopefully I'm doing a little bit of the same for you. That's it for the sort of best of, or books that I think are definitely worthy of being bought, whether full price or on sale, however you want to do it, or from the library, which I always recommend. Libraries are the best. But also, I wanted to give a shout out to my birthday read, which was Nancy Drew #5. Now, to my understanding, these are the rewritten versions from the 1950s. Apparently, Nancy Drew has a very, like, complex history, okay? They were written in the 1930s and then rewritten in the 50s, and I think that's what most of us have now. I love Nancy Drew. It's like my happy place, and so when my birthday came around, I had been hoarding these, the next set 5 through 8, because I just like to, I don't know, when I get books I really want, I don't read them. I just hold on to them forever for seemingly no purpose. I decided on my birthday I wanted just a quick read that I knew was guaranteed to make me happy, so naturally that's where Nancy came in. Yeah, we're on a first name basis. Now, let's talk about the books that are a little more middle of the road, books that I thought were enjoyable, but that I did have some somewhat significant problems with that make me say, hey, maybe don't spend your money on this, but if you're still interested in them, give them a try. You'll probably be either where I am, middle of the road, or you might really like them. Who knows? But it's definitely worth finding out. First up is actually The Elementals, which was also recommended in the comment section by Lana, so I hope I'm saying that right. So thank you so much, Lana, for recommending that to me. It is pure 1980s horror, and I mean that in the best sort of way. It's written by Michael McDowell, who I think was the writer for Beetlejuice, which is a movie that honestly really freaks me out. I can handle a lot of horror. It's weird what messes with me and what doesn't, but anyways. This is about a family who's recently experienced a death, and so they all head to their summer vacation spot, which is 3 sort of mysteriously placed Victorian houses near the water. It's a really interesting cast of characters and sort of the definition of a slow burn. Like, you really have to work to get there, but if you just let it happen, it was really enjoyable, and there were some moments that I supremely enjoyed. Particularly the character Odessa. Anytime Odessa had something creepy to say, I loved it so much. And I don't want to ruin anything because I feel like horror is such a special genre, kind of like thrillers, where you can only really sort of hint at it and then let the reader discover it for themselves. But it does pick up pace near the ending, and it's just sort of like a traditional 80s horror. I mean, that's all I can say. That's the best way to describe it, I think, and I really enjoyed it. I honestly might even read it again, so even though I didn't love every bit of it or wasn't like completely obsessed with it, there were certain passages that really stood out to me that I really liked, so I definitely think it's worth checking out if you're into horror. My battery is dying, so we have to switch the camera. Hold on 1 second, please. Okay, I'm back. Next up is The Library of Lost and Found. It had tea and books on the cover, and naturally I thought this is meant to be. This started out really cute, and for the first bit, I was really enjoying myself. And that's not to say I didn't enjoy myself by the end. It's just that I felt like it could have been better, or I had hoped it had gone in a different way a little bit. The premise is that we're following this volunteer librarian who is always doing favors for everyone else and sort of self-sacrificing in a lot of ways. She lives alone. She's just constantly working on other people's projects. And even though she does all this for other people, she has a hard time connecting with them. It's like very few people value what she does or who she is, and she kind of leads like a lonely life. One day she's heading to the library and there's a mysterious package with her name on it. She opens it up and there is a book of fairy tales inside, and the inscription is from her grandmother to her. And this is a book she's never seen before. And even more mysterious is that the date on the inscription is 5 years after the day she thought her grandmother had died. It's possible that everything she thought she knew about her family and the death of her grandmother was completely false. It's one of those contemporary sort of tales of discovery where you start with a cranky character and then like watch them blossom. A book that I think did this a billion times better, and I don't want to be mean, but I'm just saying if you like this sort of thing, it's The Cactus, which I thought was so fun and so sweet. It has like this prickly character, pun intended, and then she just blossoms, and it was just a really sweet, funny story. That was what I was hoping for when I read this one, but I feel like in the transformation, we lost the entire charm or the entire integrity of the character. So while it was still fun and simple, I just wanted to be as much in love with her at the end as I was in the beginning, and I just wasn't. So I'm sure a lot of people won't mind that, but I'm kind of picky about contemporary books that I read. I honestly don't read that many of them, so I guess I just have slightly higher standards or higher expectations than maybe I should, but that's that. Next up is Come Find Me, and I kind of had the same problem with this, just in that I really liked the beginning and I liked the premise, but I kind of got a little bit bummed by the ending just because I wanted more. This is a YA about 2 teenagers who are both receiving signals, one from outer space, one from like an EMF reader. So one is like an alien hunter and one is like a ghost hunter, and it kind of promised me a supernatural thriller, but that's not really what it gave me. So I guess I was a little disappointed in that, because when I was a teenager, supernatural thrillers were like my bread and butter. Like, I lived for it. So I guess I just wanted that again. I wanted to live that, and while the cover and the description kind of makes it seem that way, it's really more based in reality, and while it was fun and enjoyable, I just wanted more. I just wanted more of the supernatural than I got. So I guess I just need more aliens in my life. I don't know. I didn't mean that. If the aliens are listening, that was not an invitation, okay? Let's make that clear. Fictional aliens only, please. Next up is The Book of M. My golly, I have had this beast sitting on my bookshelf for at least a year, more, I think. And I was kind of intimidated by it because I know it doesn't look that big here, but I've heard that it's really just feels long, you know? And I heard that the pacing was slow. So that just made me nervous. I put it off and put it off and put it off. This month I finally got it on audiobook so that I could finish this out, round out that TBR a little bit. I really liked the premise of this, but I was a little bit disappointed in the execution. This is like a post-apocalyptic novel, one of my favorite things. Hello? The idea is that people all over the world are losing their shadows, and when you lose your shadow, you might get some sort of unique abilities, but the cost is that you lose your memories. So you have people all over the world who are just losing who they are and what things mean and how to function. So I liked that premise. I thought that was really interesting. And also I've rarely seen a book talk about Eastern myth and incorporate Eastern myth into this genre. I don't think I've ever seen that done or done very well. So it definitely takes on like spiritual, almost religious aspects, and all of that's really interesting to me, so I didn't mind that at all. I think the problem came in with the length and the pacing and the fact that there are so many stories. There's a lot of different perspectives and all of them have the potential to be huge and epic. This could have easily been like broken up into a series, and I think it might have been better that way, or if the author had just chosen one story to really focus on and really give it all the detail to make it come together in the end. I didn't feel like the ending made this one worth the time and the pacing and how slow it was. I didn't think it was convincing even in the realm of its own fictional world. It got a little bit too surreal, and that's just a combination that I'm not a fan of. I don't like the science aspect of post-apocalyptic novels where you're looking for like a realistic solution or answer or cause mixed with surrealism. To me, they just don't connect. So while there was aspects of this that I thought were really interesting, the Eastern myth stuff and the premise, all great, but it just didn't come together for me. And frankly, I'm gonna be honest, you might like this, but I don't think it's worth the time. So I kept it in the borrow it one because I don't wanna say it's like the worst or bad or that you shouldn't consider it if it interests you, but I also don't wanna lie to you because I don't really highly recommend it. It was just okay. I liked parts of it, but I wish it had been better. Next, I'm going to talk about two nonfictions that I read, and I kind of am just throwing these on really quick because I know that people aren't probably going to be interested in these. The first is Mary Shelley, a little biography on her for the author bio series that I do every month, so that'll be coming out really soon. And my god, the scandal, you won't even believe it. It's gonna blow your mind. I seriously cannot wait to make it. It was like my mouth just dropped more and more open as I read because I just couldn't even believe it. These people are crazy. You can't make this stuff up. And the next is another one I got from the library, just a book on small houses. It's not like we're building a house tomorrow, but it's something we might do one day, who knows? And I just like researching stuff, so I got a bunch of books on like houses and smaller houses and just layouts and stuff like that. Am I too nerdy? No. You understand me. Tiny review on this. I did think it was funny that she was talking about small houses. It's right there in the title. But some of the houses were like 2,300, 2,400 square feet. And I was like, that's not really small anymore, bro. That's average. Pay attention. But it was still fun and kind of like for inspiration, but not very practical. I have a few more of these on my stack, so I might really briefly share them rest with you if I finish them or if I flip through them next month. But otherwise, yeah, just doing a little library browsing. That's it, my friend. 13 books. Can you believe that? That to me is just like, it's still blowing my mind that I read over 4,000 pages this month. I deserve so many cookies for this. If you like this video, do me a favor and click that thumbs up button before you head off to watch the next one. Drop me a comment below. Let me know if you had a favorite or a least favorite this month. I'd love to hear about it. And if you're new here and you haven't subscribed yet, but you like all things bookish, book hauls, book reviews, TBRs, wrap-ups, basically all the good bookish stuff, then I'm your girl. So go ahead and press that subscribe button and I will see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.